So a couple days ago on Reddit, I was writing about how if I had my Xiaomi Mi 9 when I did my road trip across America, I would have way more of those "that's a cool moment, I should stop and take a picture" types of pictures. And today we are going to see how the Xiaomi Mi 9 compares to my Sony A6500. Hey guys, it's Mitchell. If you're new to my channel, I make videos about the tech I use. If you want to go ahead and buy the Xiaomi Mi 9, you can always support my channel and use the affiliate links down below. If you want to go ahead and talk to me on Telegram, I have a Telegram community that I created where we talk about rooting, flashing, ROMs, all kinds of stuff, not just Xiaomi related, and I'd love for you to join. Okay, enough talking and let's get into this. So truly the question that I want to answer today is, can the Xiaomi Mi 9 replace a point and shoot or a small compact camera for simple vacation photos, family memory type of things? Obviously for things like professional video or photo work, I have a full frame camera, but I think that I can be equally as expressive and creative using my Xiaomi Mi 9 as I can be using my Sony A6500 with my 16-50 kit lens.
It's hard to talk about a travel or a camera used for capturing family memories without talking about some of the inspirational kind of factors that come from having it and the ability to create and get that instant feedback and use some of that feedback that you might get from taking photos as inspiration for you to keep on taking photos. So in that way, a cell phone is going to be tremendously more rewarding and more enticing for you to go ahead and kind of pursue photography with, because you do have that immediate feedback of if that was a cool shot or not. You can edit colors and share immediately with friends. So I'm not going to really revisit this that much other than talking about kind of the user experience of using the Xiaomi Mi 9 versus the A6500. And that's something that we'll get into in a little bit.
One thing that's really, really important to remember, especially about when trying to take creative pictures or document memories that you might have for family, more often than not, you might not care about having the best quality, but the emphasis is more on capturing the best moment. And there's something that's very, very seamless about pulling out a cell phone and being able to do that. There's no getting around that. At the same time, you have to weigh the technical capabilities of the camera versus that of the cell phone's kind of superior ease and accessibility. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. It's not always really convenient to be walking around with a bunch of lenses. And oftentimes I find myself using the stock kit lens if I'm like going on vacation somewhere, simply because I don't want to be worried about changing focal lengths. And having the 3 separate focal lengths on the Mi 9 allows you to have similar creativity in regards to composing pictures.
It's important to note for this comparison, I was shooting all the pictures with my Sony in JPEG mode simply because I don't think it's necessarily a apples-to-apples comparison to be shooting the full RAW files. But at the same time, if you are trying to get better quality out of the camera, you would be shooting RAW. By shooting RAW, you introduce a new barrier to sharing and a new barrier to creativity, in this case being the editing and the raw file translation process that you have to use usually in a desktop application like Adobe Lightroom or Adobe Photoshop. And so for this test, I chose to simply shoot JPEGs and this next test I did was using the portrait mode on the Xiaomi Mi 9, and I gotta say that I was really impressed by the portrait mode. Something to keep in mind is in order to get the really shallow depth of field like you want in portraits, you usually have to have a larger lens, or more often than not, you need to have a lens that is not as compact as the kit lens. So being able to have that portrait effect of being able to isolate your background with the Xiaomi Mi 9 in a variety of focal lengths is really nice and gives you a little bit more functionality and versatility over having a dedicated camera.
So as we're about to cross the street here, I think it's time that we talk a little bit about image stabilization. So one thing that the Mi 9 can't quite do that camera with an optical image stabilization can do is it can record 4K without needing to crop in on the image. If you notice, when I have moving shots or moving video from the Mi 9, there's a little bit of like maybe jello effect. And that comes from the digital image stabilization. It's that simple. If you notice, we don't have that to the same extent here.
Now, obviously, electronic image stabilization is no replacement for optical image stabilization, and I'm going to be doing a more comprehensive video test in the next week here. But this brings us to the subject of night mode and how good the photos are in low light. And I was really impressed by the photos out of the Xiaomi Mi 9 as it got darker, being able to use the built-in Xiaomi night mode. We now have a Google Gcam port for the Xiaomi Mi 9 that works. And as you can see, really vibrant pictures, lots of dynamic range, lots of detail, and overall really impressive for a camera without optical image stabilization. I had no problems autofocusing in the dark, and as you guys can see, even when it got pretty dark at nighttime, I was able to capture totally usable, totally shareable photos with the same kind of ease and seamlessness that I would be able to using my Sony. And the thing is that with the Sony, you don't have the same type of intelligent image processing that you would have with night mode. With a kit lens, you are limited to the amount of light that the lens can gather. And if you want to get better images in low light, you usually need to bring a monopod or a tripod, and then it's going to take some post-processing afterwards. one thing to note is that even though the lights got dimmer, I still had pretty consistent performance out of each of the three cameras. Now, the main 48 megapixel camera was obviously the best performer, but I didn't have a considerable drop-off in performance when using either the telephoto or the ultrawide. I was expecting to have a bigger drop-off in performance, but the use of image processing and kind of artificial technology, or AI, in the programming really makes up for the lack of hardware. And you can expect really, really good, consistent, low light photos from the Mi 9, no matter what camera you choose.
Let's go ahead and wrap up on some takeaways that we have here from this camera comparison. And the first one is that the moment you start understanding and start shooting for social media and private kind of keepsake memento type of stuff, the moment you realize how quality kind of has a law of diminishing returns. And if you are purely looking for a device that is going to go ahead and take photos that you're going to use day to day for social media, maybe for a trip, you want to go on a hike, but you don't want to bring a camera type of thing, I think that you are going to be really, really surprised by the amount of versatility that the Xiaomi Mi 9 offers. The second takeaway that we have on this is that software is playing a huge part in optimizing the hardware that Sony's chosen. And with that said, we are probably going to see this camera get better and better as the device ages through software updates and community camera ports like the Google camera. And let's say we get a Google camera port with all three cameras totally working on the Mi 9. It's only going to make the Mi 9 a continuously better camera and better device to take photos with. And after my day of going out and taking photos all the way from the late afternoon into the early evening in a very, very popular place with tourists, I can confidently say that if you're looking to take pictures like mine, you don't need to look further than a Xiaomi Mi 9. I'm really impressed with all the photos I took from it. I'm really impressed by the amount of creativity and kind of challenge it provided for me. And if you're a photographer, if you're a traveler, if you're just someone who wants to start taking better photos with their cell phone, I think the Xiaomi Mi 9 is a great option, especially at the price point. That's going to wrap up today's video. If you guys liked it, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, think about subscribing. If you want to support me, use my affiliate links down below. If you want to talk to me, use the Telegram or the comments down below. Till next time, it's been Mitchell coming to you from Hanoi. And if you guys want to see more videos about Hanoi, click right up here and go ahead and check out my other YouTube channel. Peace.